Welcome. You're listening to the Growortho podcast, presented by HIP. This podcast is dedicated to orthodontists who want to stand strong in their market and be leaders in their community. Now, on to today's show. Dr. Castilla, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. Really appreciate it. Excited to talk and just kind of learn more about your mindset and your practice and how you guys do business.
Awesome. It's my pleasure to be here with you. I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to chat. So for those listening, or maybe they're watching this on YouTube or on our website, I think some people are going to know who you are. But for those who don't, just take a few minutes and introduce yourself, the practice, where you guys are at. Obviously, there's some unique things about your practice and how you guys do orthodontics. So yeah, just kind of give an overview of yourself and the practice.
Castilla Orthodontics, which is our practice, is in Salem, Oregon. Everybody knows Portland, but Salem is actually the capital city of Oregon, and it's about an hour south of downtown Portland. I purchased the practice from a retiring orthodontist back in 2013, so we're actually going to have our 10-year anniversary this summer, which is very, very exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah, and when I first purchased the practice was averaging about 9 starts a month, and we've been so incredibly blessed to grow it so much more than that. It had 6 employees at the time, and now we have 26, 27, depending on certain factors. But things that are unique about our practice, I would say, originally when we started the practice, it was very much following the traditional model of marketing to doctors and dentists and things like that, and offering different braces and Invisalign and aligners. And the practice has definitely evolved over the years as I have gained clarity over who my target demographic is and what my value proposition is to my clients. And now we do braces only, and which I think I see on so many orthodontic forums that people say, orthodontists, they say like, oh, I hate aligners, but I can't stop doing it because there's not enough patients. And talk about mindset, that is absolutely not true. We do over 1,000 starts every year, well over 1,000 starts every year on braces patients only. So there is enough patients.
Yeah, totally.
And now our team is, we're known for also having a blast at our office. We have a lot of theme days. Multiple times a year, we dress up in costume and just decorate the office. We've had everything from 70s Day to Circus Day to old school rap day. Everything under the sun we've done, and we just have such a blast doing it. I think it's very important for our patients to feel comfortable in the office and feel like, because we're part of their smile journey, right? So I personally want our patients to have a fun, memory about our office and the journey that they had to getting a beautiful smile.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when we came out, Harrison and myself visited in January. You guys had hip balloons all over the office. That was really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool surprise. But, one thing that I was so impressed with is yourself and Dr. Eddie, your husband, obviously own and run the practice. Just the team that you guys have created, both within yourselves and, your team members, obviously, that have come along for the ride, and your processes that you guys have created. I mean, you guys had a pulse on everything within the business, knew where everything's at. We're using different softwares, not only Practice Beacon, but, managing leads and processes and other softwares, and everything was just so detailed. And the team was fully bought into it and excited about the processes that and systems that were helping them to do their job better. Obviously, that kind of led me to, hey, let's have this interview, because I think there's so many things that other orthodontists and just other people in general can learn from how you guys run the practice. So super excited to talk about mindset. One thing you just mentioned with how do you do braces only? And, you guys also advertise fees. And these are things
Hmm.
that a lot of orthodontists think are the wrong way. But funny enough, as we grow at HIP and we get to work with amazing practices like yourself, the easy growers, I call them, have more of an approach like you guys do. And they may not be braces only, but they're, would be 70, 80% braces. A lot of times startup costs with brackets aren't super expensive, whereas these indirect bonding modalities can sometimes be like upwards of $2,000 per case. We're starting to see some of the people who aren't easy growers and are more clinical and very into what you called the gadgetry, are buying into these things and then wondering like, hey, why am I not profitable? Why is my take home going down? Why is my margin going down? And we're having to have these conversations with them and look at modalities, lab fees. Another thing people talk about is, oh, well, this is great because if I do indirect bonding, I can have all this free time. And then they're saying, oh, well, I actually don't have free time. Now I'm doing, setting up cases on my weekends, taking my work home, doing aligner checks. And so just to kind of jump right in, like, where are people hearing this, and is it the best mindset in terms of running a profitable business to jump in to everything that's new and super expensive and costly?
Well, first of all, when you own a business, there's three types of people. There's artists, there's managers, and then there's entrepreneurs. And I firmly believe that most doctors are artists, and not
Mm,
business people. Some of them are, but most doctors are artists, and so they think like artists. And so that's where we start seeing the like, oh, let me try this fancy gadget, let me try this, because they're really into their art. And so that's
yeah.
totally understandable. But I'm an artist myself, but as an artist, you need to understand, where your strengths are as an artist and where your strengths are not. And I think it's also not seeing that what you have is not a practice that happens to be a business, but a business that happens to be a practice. And I think that that's really critical to understand that fully, because when you think that you have a practice and not a business, then your artist side really goes through, and you start talking to other artists, meaning other orthodontists, and you start talking to other artists. And so what are they doing? What are you doing? What did you try? What's working for you? Oh, this is cool. Or you start listening to vendors. Vendors convincing them that this is the best way. That this is. So you're listening to everybody but your client. Right. So, and if
Mm,
you understand that you have a business first that happens to be a practice, then you're gonna go out and hear, your client, and ask questions of your clients, and what do they want. They don't know about indirect bonding, or about, when people come to consults, the two main things that they want to know is price and how long. I mean, there's other things, too. Like I want my child to be comfortable in the, vibe of the office, and things like that. But at the end of the day, that's what they want. A lot of people kind of complain about shoppers, that they're shopping around because nobody's telling them the information that they want. What they want is to know
mm,
is how much and how long. Nobody's telling them that. Nobody's really being transparent about, what it is that they want to know. So of course they're shopping around. This is a big ticket item for a lot of people. So I mean, I think there's almost a little bit of a lack of empathy when we shop around for things that are big ticket items. We shop around too. So why should the patient be any different? And I think a lot of the shopping gets reduced when you're fully transparent with, what you're doing. But back to your question about doctors not becoming profitable because they're trying all these fancy gadgets and all these things, and that's all great. But you really need to have clarity is power, right? So you need to have clarity about who your customer is. Not all customers are the same. You can't be everything to everybody. So once you decide who your customer is, you need to go out and listen to their voice, and not necessarily the voices of vendors or the voices of other orthodontists that may have a different target customer. So I think all of that stuff happens with good intention. You're trying to be the best doctor you are. You're an artist. You're trying to provide the best. You try to provide the best life for yourself and be efficient, but you're not really listening to your client.
That's an amazing point. So many amazing points in that. So thanks for sharing that. Now, you talked about, you threw out the number, oh, there's only 1,000 patients. And, there's this limiting belief of there's only so many patients, we need to be really careful or scrutinize over our competitors, other orthodontists in the area. I guess what I'm trying to say is, there's a limited number of patients and there's a lot of scarcity around that with many orthodontists. Now, this I think goes well beyond orthodontists, and a lot of business owners think this way. But to your point, there's an abundance of patients, I think you believe.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I saw this study from Gauge that was like there's like 95 million people in the US who are eligible for treatment. Now, I don't know how they did this study, but I'm sure it's ballpark. And only 4 to 6 million new patients per year. So look at how many more patients there could be and how much growth there could be. Should people really be worried about this limited number of patients and competitors?
Absolutely not. There is, I mean, really, with everything in life, there's more than enough for everybody, and there's definitely
Hmm.
plenty of patients. I think what it is that traditionally orthodontics has served kind of the elite, so it's very
Yeah.
small, type of patient category or type of patient with a certain amount of income and a certain amount of education that has a private practice dentist and, all these things. And so there is, if that's your target demographic, then there's probably a limited number of patients from that point of view. But there's a whole bunch of other patients that would love to have braces, and they just haven't been able to get them under the traditional model.
So with that, like, how do you guys approach that, and what's your mission within Castilla Orthodontics to serve Salem and the surrounding areas?
Yeah, I think it all starts with your value proposition and having clarity around that. For us, the patients that we want to serve are patients that the patients that we target in our practice are patients that need an affordable payment plan, that need they need price transparency. They want to know they're not familiar necessarily with with the healthcare system and how the healthcare system works. They tend to have communication problems. They tend to be intimidated by doctor settings. Um, and they need mobile friendliness. We talk about technology and some of the processes that we use in our practice. I'm obsessed with mobile friendly. It's just amazing how many practices this day and age are not mobile friendly. And this actually, occurred to me through using some products that I tried in the past that were not mobile friendly. And during that process, I discovered that my patients, a lot of them don't have laptops at home. And so everything, let's think about modern times. Everybody uses their phone way more than they use their laptop. So improving communication that way. So for us, we understand what the customer pains are, right? So every customer that you're trying to serve has a problem, and a problem that they're trying to solve, and a series of pains that is keeping them from solving that problem. So I see it as my job, once I know who I want to serve, to find the solutions for those pains. So with our customers, and our patients in our office, some of them have language barriers, so we make sure we have a bilingual team. Some of them, it's financial. A lot of people now, it's not just
Hmm.
it's not even a lot of people now with the current times are experiencing financial problems, but financial issues. They need flexibility in the payments. They need flexibility in scheduling. They need flexibility in a lot of things, and so we make sure that we provide that flexibility. They like transparency. They want to know what's happening. It's a nervous situation. It's a nervous decision. I'm going to go. It's a big deal. Like maybe for us, we live it every day. That we live in the orthodontic world every day. But for a lot of patients, it's a big deal to go to this orthodontist and get this expensive, service and get braces on. So it's always, providing a lot of certainty for the client that this is what it's going to be. This is what you can expect. This is the price. This is how, the monthly payment is. And you can ask us questions anytime. You can message us from Facebook. Really, it just needs to be easy. Our goal is
Easy.
always to remove barriers to entry. You know, we put up so many barriers to our clients in traditional orthodontic models. And my goal is to how I'm always thinking that, like, how can I make it easy? How can I make it easy for a lead to communicate with us? How can I make it easy for our team to respond? How can everything should be when things are easy. That's the elegance of it, right? That's when people will go to you because you didn't make it difficult.
I see a lot sometimes with thinking, you know, how is my customer making it easy for me instead of how am I making it easy for my customer? We hear
Right.
these things like, oh, they're a bad patient or this is a bad lead. Again, somewhat of a negative mindset, but the positive mindset is, hey, how can I serve my customer better if I do these things like what you're talking about to make it easy? Then I'm removing um, questions in their mind and the possibility for sticky situations or, we didn't set the expectation right, whatever, because I put it all out there. I've done my research, I've created my core values, my culture, and here's all the information that's so accessible. And we're going to remove the roadblocks and make it easy for you versus, oh, well, we just want patients who are going to make it easy for us. I think
Right.
I think that's a big shift that needs to happen.
Yeah, that's definitely a big shift. If I could say something to everybody is some people understand this and some people don't, is that business is a spiritual game. It absolutely is
Mm,
a spiritual game, and the person that provides the most value and provides the most service more than anyone else is the person that's going to win. We're as a business is here to serve the clients, and a business is about relationships. And so not everybody's always going to be ready to, pay you right away and jump in and get their braces or their aligners or start orthodontic treatment with you. So you really have to nurture the relationships with these leads. There's really no such thing as a bad lead unless they don't have teeth, in our business. And I think it's also a failure to understand the customer decision-making journey, because there's actually, I mean, we just have to think about ourselves. I think if we think about how we shop ourselves, then then we can understand how our customers shop as well. Because not everybody's ready to buy right away. There's different
totally.
stages that people go through to that want to shop. So maybe somebody's just thinking about something, they're just getting information. And because they didn't schedule for an exam, that makes them a bad lead. I don't think so. They're just not ready. They're just getting information. So, sometimes they're kind of ready, but now they're trying to find which is the right place. And so there's different stages of the consumer decision-making process. And I think it's critical to maybe even spend more time on the people that are not ready, and service them and nurture, educate them, get them the information that they want, and develop those relationships, because they're going to remember you later on when they're ready. It's easy to get the patient that's like, hey, I'm ready, I'm gung ho, I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to get my braces on. That's easy. But the leads that are like, I'm thinking about it, I don't know, they're hesitant, they have their fears. I mean, everybody has like their fears or, reasons why they haven't started something that they want to do. And if we could be, that person that can guide them through that, they'll remember us, and they'll build a relationship with us, and they will come when they're finally ready. They will come to us. I heard a speaker one time, and I can't remember his name, and he said that one of the biggest mistakes that business people make is they're trying to be the star of the show. And if you think about a movie, right? There's a star of the movie, and they're trying to be the star of the movie, when in reality you need to let your client be the star of the movie, and you as the business owner need to be more like a Yoda type character, like Yoda from Star Wars,
Yeah.
and be the advisor, the guider, the one that's helping them win, and helping them get through the movie of their life, or through their journey successfully. So that's really our role, is to be more like Yoda. I
Yeah.
can't believe I went into Star Wars, but and be
No,
that
that's a great
guide.
analogy.
yeah, and be that guide, and let the client be the star of the movie. We're there to serve. We're there to be the guide, and we shouldn't be trying to be the star ourselves.
It sounds so simple when you kind of break it down that way. And I think in many cases, business is simple. Surely there's intricacies and more complicated parts, but I always tell people there's four components to any business: marketing, sales, operations, and finance. And so understanding how those things work together, understanding the avatar, the target, core values, our DNA, and how we can reach our audience. It doesn't have to be this complicated thing. So yeah, you're speaking my language, and I think there's a lot of mic drops in this episode potentially. So
Yeah.
with stewardship is a word that it may not be talked about a lot. I was raised religious Christian, and stewardship's all throughout the Bible. But the reason why I like to talk about it, and I'd like to get your perspective, is you guys have one location. And I mean, I walked in and there's like chairs everywhere. You like knocked out your office and you don't need an office anymore. And there's, you put a couple chairs there, and stewardship is maximizing what you're given. You know what I mean? I'm taking what I've been given, I'm maximizing it before I'm going out and creating other locations, bringing in other doctors. I see far too many orthodontists do this too soon. And again, they start to ask, well, where's my paycheck, Luke? I'm not getting paid. And I'm like, yeah, you're a small practice and now you have 5 locations and you have 3 doctor salaries. Let's nail your model and then duplicate it. And I think that really ties into stewardship and stewarding the opportunities that you're given. So many times we're looking at that shiny object. I've been guilty of this too as a business owner. You hear something and see something and it's too good to be true. And in most cases, those things always are too good to be true. But how do you balance, this shiny object and maybe getting distracted versus just stewarding what you have and doing what you've been given, making the most of it and doing really well at that first?
I think it's you asked me about ego, and I think sometimes it's ego is a big part of it. Every time I go
Mm.
to an orthodontic conference, the first thing that people ask me is, well, what brackets are you using? And how many locations do you have? And, and it can almost become like this bragging thing about, who has the most locations, or who uses the fanciest brackets. And again, that's just not really focusing on your client. It's more focusing on yourself. I think also, to be fair, I think a lot of orthodontists are not business people, so they don't really, understand, concept, of like, maximizing. I think it's the mentality of there's not enough, or there's shortages, there's not enough patients, so I need to go to another location to get more patients, when in reality, the lack of patients is coming from a different cause and not because of your location. So I think there's just a focus on the wrong things, and maybe it's from lack of business training, and maybe some ego too. A lot of people focus on
Mhm.
marketing, for example. Well, I just want to market to a different market. So that's why I'm going to open another location. But marketing is great. I love marketing. Actually, when I was in my MBA, that was one of my specialties that I studied, was digital marketing, and because I love it. Like I said, I'm an artist, so I love everything that has to do with marketing. But one of my aha moments that I had when I was in school was the idea of competing on operations, right? And because I always thought like, oh, whoever's the flashiest, whoever has the best price, that's the person that's going to win. It's not necessarily true. So the idea of competing on operations, because we're all orthodontists, so from the leads or the patient's perspective, they already think you're fabulous. They already think you are qualified. They already think that you're going to do a good job. And so sometimes we, derail ourselves and start like saying like, well, I'm board certified, or I'm this, or I I speak at that, and or I use these fancy braces, and the patients already think that you are great and can do a great job. So, that's where, from that point of view, the patient to the patient, we're all the same. But how are we delivering that orthodontics? How are we delivering the product? It could be very different from one office to another. And do we create efficiencies? Do we make it easy? Back to those things that we were talking about. But yeah, to answer your question about the locations, I think it's comes from a mentality of lack. You're looking for more patients. You don't have enough patients, so you think you need to go to another market, and maybe a little bit of ego too, like you said. I have more offices.
Yeah. Well, and to go back to your point of where I break it down like this, 2% of people are ready to buy today. So the people who know, okay, I'm going to go Google orthodontist near me, click on the link, and I'm going to schedule and go in and get started. Or the people who got referred by their dentist to 20 years, or maybe their pediatric dentist of 13 years. Like, those are the 2%. The 98%, like you mentioned, are either in the awareness stage, so very top of funnel. They may not know the difference between you and Smile Direct Club, or a dentist and an
Right.
orthodontist. They may not know what is even like clear aligners. That's the awareness stage. A lot of people there. And then consideration stage. Okay, I think I really want to consider this. Maybe I want to consider these 2 to 3 offices, or I'm going to opt in on Smile Direct Club or a DIYer, or they're further down the funnel. And that's those 2 stages, awareness and consideration, are 98% of people, right? And
I know.
so
Yeah.
I always tell people, hey, do you want to focus on the 2% that are already going to come see you? Or do you want to focus on the 98% and figure out a process that's going to work to get them into your new patient pipeline and nurture them? And some people who come into that pipeline aren't going to start for 2 to 3 years, but when they have a question, if you answer it, if you do it with great customer service and you're happy to do it, guess who they're going to come see when they're ready? And so, a lot of people sometimes aren't super excited when they start working with HIP, because they're like, these people aren't responding. They're not calling us back. I'm like, well, first off, you call them back 48 hours later, probably already went somebody was somewhere else, but they're not sold on where they want to go and when they want to come in. It's our job to be here for them and kind of nurture them. And the people, the orthodontists, the clients that we have, like yourself, I tell people the single most important thing is mindset. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so it's more about what you believe, because that's an energy you're creating, and then you're transferring that onto your team. You're transferring that onto your business. And so the key fundamental, and we're starting to talk more about this in the sales or courting relationship with HIP, is like, just tell us about your mindset, because I can tell you in 5 minutes if this is going to work or not. So it is so interesting.
I think also, there's a failure to understand the direct-to-consumer model, which is what a lot of what you guys do. For example, there's, because when you send cupcakes to a dentist, or when you send chocolates to a dentist, and you do those doctor deliveries, you're really just getting you're doing that and developing that relationship with the dentist to get the patients that are at the end of the funnel, right? Or at the end of the consumer decision journey, the people that are just ready to buy. But as you said, the vast majority of people are actually not ready to buy. And some of them are ready, they just can't. So when, you have to understand, when you're doing direct to consumer, you're going to get a lot of people that are not ready because of dental reasons. They have cavities, they need a cleaning, they saw you on an ad, maybe they haven't been to a dentist in a couple years. They weren't referred by a dentist, they saw you on Facebook, or they saw you on Instagram. So you're gonna get a lot of patients that are not ready. So I hear, unfortunately, a lot of doctors say, oh, all I'm getting is these leads that are not ready because they have cavities. I'm like, okay, well, let's help them. I mean, so you always want to come from that a service mindset. Let's help them. And so it's important to develop a process like a dental clearance process in your office, if you're going to do direct to consumer, to help people. Like, I mean, and you're doing such a great thing because, now they got back to health, with their gums and their cavities and things like that, all in the name of getting a beautiful smile. So it's like a 2-for-1 win. Yeah, they're gonna get braces, but in the process, they got their teeth back to health. So again, it goes, don't try to be the star of the show. You're there to be the Yoda.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, you certainly have so many great opinions and thoughts and beliefs, rather. They really resonate with my beliefs. So it's amazing that we're talking. And I wish that I could hire you and bring you into HIP, but I don't know that I could pay you enough just yet. One day, that's my
Maybe
goal.
maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Yeah. But I don't know for you. I'm sure it hasn't always been this way. Like I know for me, 10 years ago, I had a scarcity mindset. I was in debt over my head, and I had to start tuning into the right inputs to change my thinking and change my life. How did you invest in yourself, and how do you still invest in yourself?
Yeah, it's a journey, right? The beautiful thing about accomplishing your goals is not the goal itself, but who you had to become to reach those goals. When I first bought my practice, I tell everybody the story. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I bought my practice in 2013. By the end of 2014, I was nearing bankruptcy. I was like taking money out of my husband's retirement account to pay my staff. Like it was that I took a practice that was already small, and I made it even worse.
Mm,
And so I think that when you are faced with situations like that, what Tony Robbins calls the winters, right? When you are faced with the difficult times, that's when you really see what you're made of, So because at that point, you either just continue falling or you burn the ships and you say no, somehow, some way, I'm gonna make it through. And I decided to burn the ships. And I mean, there's a story about a Chinese general that goes to fight the enemy on an island, and they're totally outnumbered, and the general decides to burn the ships, so that there was no way to retreat. Right.
mm,
And so and so that's what I mean by burning the ships.
yeah.
And so there was no way for his army to retreat. If they wanted to come out alive, they had to win. And so you have to kind of develop that gladiator kind of mindset, in order to survive in business and grow as a person. So it's a journey, because you know uh, Jim Rohn says, you can't get more. In order to get more, you have to become more. You have to be, you
Hmm.
can't get more without becoming more. I'm sure that's not quite exactly how you said it, but that's the that's the
Yeah.
that's the gist of it. Um, and so it's been a journey. When I first got there, I thought that I was like, all I have to do is, have perfect American Board of Orthodontic style cases. I just have to do a good job, and everybody will just come. And that's such a me mindset versus, how can I serve, what it is. I really discovered early on that people were just not starting in my office. What's wrong? Why aren't they starting? Like, do we suck? Like, are we just awful, or is the staff being mean? And I discovered, it's like, well, people are not starting in my office, because they can't afford me. They can't afford my practice. And once that was like the first of it, the first thing that I realized, in talking to patients, again, you have to talk to your clients. You have to talk to the people that you're trying to serve in order to figure out how best to serve them so that they will choose you. And when I realized that I couldn't afford them, that's when I realized, okay, so this is one thing that's important to them. That's when I became super flexible with my payment plans. I was the first person in Salem to actually, I think I'm still the only person, first and only still, to actually advertise payment plans, and even fees. We'll advertise those as well. To the just general public. Here we are. This is what we are, and the response was really phenomenal, and we were able to grow from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Is there any books that you would recommend, podcast, any type of inputs like that, where maybe this is really resonating with people watching or listening and they really need some foundational steps? Anything that you would recommend to kind of get started with improving mindset, improving business acumen, things like that?
You know what I'm gonna say, right? For me, I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan, so I think
Yeah.
that listening to Tony Robbins, I know he has a podcast. Listening to Tony Robbins will definitely be worth anyone's while as far as mindset is concerned. Um, and he has a program too called Business Mastery that talks about a lot of things with respect to mindset and just how to be successful in business. So that would be my number one recommendation for sure.
Well, I know I'm super inspired. I hope other people listening or tuning in are really inspired. And it's really my goal. I've kind of changed my focus of doing marketing and bringing in leads and things like that. Personally, I want to take what we're talking about and bring it to the masses and change limiting beliefs, any poor mindsets, practices that can't grow, don't know how to grow. I want to develop all the education and the material to make it easy for them to change their mindset, change their business, change their life. And, these types of conversations really inspire me. And I think hearing success stories too, coming in from doctors of, oh, I tried this and, it worked. And I had my biggest month last month in a recession. And, my friends are telling me they're down, but we're up. That's like why I exist. And so that's my goal, is to just serve as many orthodontists as possible and make it easy for them to do well in business. Obviously, nothing's given, it's earned. But if there's cheat codes, or if I can take what could happen in 5 years and shave it down to 2 years, that's my goal. So thanks for being a part of this and,
Of course.
giving your expertise. I know it's very valuable for me to just hear you speak. So I'm excited about what others will say about this information too. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing.
It is my pleasure. And if there's any way that I can, assist you with your mission, I would be more than happy to do it.
So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, ask more questions, what's the best way for them to do that?
Definitely email. I don't check my voicemail. So email is definitely the way. My email is Dr. Castilla at castillaortho.com. So that would be the best way
Perfect.
to reach me. I'm happy to talk to anyone.
So you'd be a bad lead if I called you. Just kidding. Just kidding. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more about HIP or any of the topics in this episode, send an email to hello@hipcreativeinc.com. That's hello@hipcreativeinc.com, or jump over to our website at hip.agency.